You that are parents, you can relate to the fact that when you see your child, you think they are the most amazing, beautiful, cute creature on the planet. And then there's that age-old adage, a face only a mother could love. What do you think his mom thought? You've tuned into the Extreme channel. My name's Mr. X. We use the word extreme because extreme collectibles is a big part of what we are about. And today we have none other than the life-size bust of the Reaper from Blade 2, manufactured by Elite Creature Collectibles. Wow. Wow. And this is not a new piece to the Extreme collection. Kind of a side note, if you haven't noticed lately, because of Chinese New Year and the coronavirus, or Conja Club, or whatever the hell it's called, not a lot of new stuff is coming in. So we're looking at some of the old stuff we have, and it's pretty damn cool. I kind of like doing this actually, though. It gives me a revigoration of, or renew, or whatever the hell you want to call it, of some of this old stuff, especially this guy. I'm really dick riding this guy right now, probably because he's so sexy. But we're going to review this guy using the Extreme scale. Here it is. Extreme scale, 1 through 5, T through W. Is it trash? Is it extreme? So let's dive right in. As I said, made by Elite Creature Collectibles. This is one of 700 pieces. The original retail price, I think, was around $1,300 or so. Nowadays, they go for anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 because they're sold out. Let's get the dimensions. He's approximately 26 inches tall. His widest point is probably his shoulders at 19 inches. And then his deepest part is probably about 17, but that's the little tendrils on the tongue. So this is from Blade 2. If you're unfamiliar with what that is and you just stumbled across this, go watch it. If you like this, you'll really like Blade 2. So Blade 2 is a cinematic Marvel movie where Wesley Snipes is Blade. He's a vampire hunter. He's half vampire. And the vampires evolve. Not really. It's a manufactured evolution where they turn into these creatures called Reapers. And essentially what they did is they now feed on vampire blood, and they are no longer weak to silver. So sunlight's the only thing that can kill them. And I recently did a review of a custom Blade statue, which is what made me want to do the review on this. He sits in my home theater room, so go check out my room tour. Here is the entire room tour, and it includes the home theater room. I'm still working on a display for all my horror, evil, villain busts on that wall, but that's where he belongs, and he's fantastic. I never look at him close, especially in this light, since it's really dark in there, and I am really loving this. I really am. And I've seen a few versions where he was repainted and he looked even better, so I'd love to see those in person. But let's dive right into the Extreme scale. With this guy, we're first going to start talking about concept, and with the life-size bust, it's a little bit different. There's no action dynamic pose, but we'll still try it out. First on the bottom, as usual, Elite Creature Collectibles does awesome bases that tie into the movie. You can see some of the vampire writing here. They always put a name of the character, which I am not a fan of, or a name of the movie that it comes from, as the case here. I think it's more of the name of the movie. This stone temple Egyptian base kind of makes you think of vampires, especially the way they were portrayed in the movie. And you have this life-size bust, so it's not just his head, but it's kind of mid-sternum that you start to go up and you see all the different details that we're going to look at in paint and sculpt, which are phenomenal. And they have the Reaper here in full action mode. His mouth is completely spread. This is what he does when he's about to bite. He's about to attack. It's completely disgusting. Looks like a sci-fi flower. He's extremely evil. And it is just scary as hell. Something you'd find in a haunted house or a comic book shop. Perfect museum pose. And kind of an interesting story. When I first got him, obviously my kids were scared of it, but I convinced them how nice they are. So my youngest, he was probably like 6 at the time, he would come grab the tongue and say, Frankie, listen to me. He calls him Frankie. He has names for all the beasts. The lichen, I actually have the lichen I'll review someday. Here's a picture of that. He calls Wolfie. But enough about that. So concept-wise, if you're going to get a Reaper statue, you want him displaying the inside of the mouth. That's what all the cool detail is. There's some other cool parts about it on the body that obviously don't display here. I like the fact they tied it back in. I hate the fact that it says the name of the movie on the front. To me, that means it takes it away from the X. It's not the perfect concept because of that, but it's damn close. So we're going to give the concept a W, a 4 out of 5. And remember, anything 3 and above is a good score. Because here's my thing. If you see this creature and you're like, oh, that's so cool, I want it, I'm interested in it, you shouldn't have to be told where it's from. I mean, maybe the first time, but you don't need constant reminders that it's from the Blade 2 movie. Now we'll talk about design. With design, we talk about displayability, functionality. Did everything go together well? ECC comes in huge boxes, which is unfortunate, but they protect everything really well. They come with a certificate of authenticity, which is probably in the box with my warehouse. Someday I'll do a video on what I do with boxes, but I just paused because I couldn't remember if the camera was recording. But he came in 3 pieces. The base is 1 piece. He is 1 piece minus this little part right here. Has a tiny magnet that works very well. That's it. So you can imagine a lot of risk when they ship it, but they pack it so well, there's not really many issues. I wish the Blade 2 was removable, as I said, but design-wise, it's all 1 piece, no seams. Super disgusting on the inside. A lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is paint and sculpt. I guess one negative, hid my tape measure back there from you guys. I don't like busts. I wish they would have followed through and done the entire thing. I hate, most busts do this. It's kind of this black offish color in the back. I think that's a negative, because from the side you can see it, so he has to be displayed from the front only. And especially the fact that, I like the fact he's turned a little, but if you turn him, you see more of this for a full-on view of the mouth. So that's kind of a negative, but otherwise I really can't find much wrong. So I think with the design, we also get a rail, a 4 out of 5. Now we're going to dive into the paint and sculpt on this, guys. And I keep saying ECC, just so you know, that's short for Elite Creature Collectibles. They're fantastic. This is my 4th piece from them, I think, and I'm always blown away. They do a fantastic job on paint and sculpt. Their quality is second to none. I'm really tempted to get more of their pieces, but let's just start with this one. At the bottom here, as I said, I really like this base. I like the coloring they used on it. It's not a sandy Egyptian type color, but makes you still think of pyramids. The stones are cracked. They look like real stones. I love the different colors they used in them. There's some vampire writing on all 4 of the pillars. Kind of a neat Easter egg on the back here, which is kind of stupid, but it's still neat. They have a highlighted, some blue, this big hieroglyphic on the back. Not sure the purpose behind that, but it does make you feel nice and happy, even though you never see it when it's displayed. But great job on this base. I think it looks like stone concrete. Really dig how they did it. Really quick, here's the black part of him that I showed earlier. Obviously, there's no sculpt, and it's just painted this matte black finish. But that's not what we're here to see. We are here to see this beast. So starting at the bottom here at the front, one of the things, their skeletons almost protruded from their body, and you see that in the sculpt down here. It doesn't even look like this is sculpted in. You can actually picture the bones inside of this. And what's equally as cool is not only that, but the paint is phenomenal. First, there's this gloss finish over everything, which I love. It makes him a little slimy, scarier. And then they have these really dull skin tones. You know, when they're first introduced in the movie, he looks like someone who's sick and pale. And I don't know if this is the main character, but it's one of the creatures. And I like the different colorings they used in there. There's some whites and skin colors and reds. Really, really cool. But then They have this throughout his entire body. These veins, they look like real veins. It is done so well, the coloring on them. And I think they're just paint, so they don't protrude at all. But really, really neat. And I'm going to start jumping around the body here just to show you more of that. It's kind of all over the place. Very muscular, the body is. Not a lot of fat, but based on the creature's habits and how they eat, maybe that explains that. And even up near the neck here, some really, really cool. It looks like almost more gloss. Check out his cranium here. That's a fancy word for head. You're welcome. I love it. I know I keep saying that. So maybe it's more than not just a face a mother could love. And again, I'm just trying to show you the pictures because it's a lot of the same, but it's so cool to look at. And here, the skin looks a little bit more around some of where his mouth is opening. I like how the skin is stretched a little bit, so it follows that anatomy of what would happen. So let's get to the front of the face, starting with the eyes. Glass eyes. I think ECC always does glass eyes. These are scary as hell. They look alive as I'm staring into them right now. I love the coloring they used. I don't know if this is movie accurate or not. It's been a few years since I've watched the movie. What I do like the nose, very humanistic nose. And that reminds you that at one time this was a human. And you see a lot more of that, the skin I was talking about looks like an older person deteriorating. I want to jump back to his ears really quick because I didn't really talk about these. They're elf-like ears. Now let's jump to the star of the show, the inside of his mouth. There's so much going on in here. First, his teeth. You can see his old vampiric teeth. I think that's the word, as of in a vampire at the top here. These are okay. These are probably the worst part. I think they could have done better. They look a little cheap, a little plasticky, which usually ECC spares no expense. So I'm surprised by that. But they're a very small part of the statue. And you can see the other parts of the teeth, the normal teeth on the sides here. I'm glad they weren't pure white. Let's look at his new teeth that almost look like there's venom inside of them. So it's this clear resin, at least the big ones on the end. And I know they release a toxin. These look so neat. And same with the little ones next to it, except they're not as clear. They have this enamel type brown and black shading around them. And then look at the gums that are right around it. They did a great job on the gums. I wish it would have been a little more bloody, a little more red, instead of the purples and pinks they use, but it still looks fantastic. And all the striations and everything else you see as you go back into the big part of the mouth. And then here's his tongue. Now this is I love what they did, the direction on this, the design, and obviously it's from the movie. I wish this was a little more slimy, a little more glossy, but it is more of some of the pink colors than the purple. But it looks like a lotus flower that came alive. The veins in here, the different colors on the front, on the sides, it is just nuts. It is so cool and scary looking. Whoever created this creature, props to them. The idea itself. And you know, me with, loving I love vampires and werewolves. So to me, it is an extension of that, so it's even cooler. But if this was some other type of weird creature, like an undead creature or something, I think I would still love the concept of it. So I think ECC pulled it off as usual. They just did a great job. I want to give, it's interesting. I hate to just be generic and give it the same score for everything, but this one I really consider, does this get the top scores in paint and sculpt? I think the exterior skin does, absolutely. The inside of the mouth, I think, is where there are opportunities for both paint and sculpt. And when I say opportunities, I mean to make it perfect. It's still better than average, very, very good. And I think that's why a few people have repainted it. But I think both the paint and sculpt end up being a rail, a 4 out of 5. If I had just judged the skin and the exterior part of him, I think it would have been an X. But I guess the paint and sculpt on the base is fantastic too. But I still stick with that grade because I don't want to go back and change it. I already put it in. That's not true. I edit these afterwards. Haha. But that wasn't funny. But you know what is funny? His final grade. So concept, design, paint, sculpt were all W's. Can any of you guess what the final grade's going to be? Surprisingly, the final grade is a W. a 4 out of 5. Fantastic job, ECC. Very stoked to own this. If you've ever been on the fence, pick him up. He's great. Pick one up today. What friends is that? Point to a bag today. This was just on last night. But yeah, let me know your favorite bust that's out there. This probably isn't my favorite bust, but it's damn near the top. And he's probably going to be unseated by some of the stuff Infinity Studios and Queen Studios is coming out with later this year. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, take care.